Hi there. My name is Hilary Jahelka, and I'm a social worker with an organization called Parachutes for Pets. We're an organization based out of Calgary, Alberta, and we exist to support the human-animal bond. Today, I'm going to be chatting with you folks about the importance of having social workers in animal welfare settings, and why at Parachutes we believe that having social workers to support with the human-animal connection is so important to us. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge where I am joining you from today. So, as I mentioned, we're based in Calgary, Alberta, Ormeau Constance, and this is the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. And that includes the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nation, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Iarhe Nakota, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. It's important that we acknowledge all people and animals living on this land, and as a settler to this land, acknowledging that I am playing, working, and living on this land as a guest. So, why do we need social work in animal welfare settings? It is a fairly new field to be in. There are definitely organizations and places that have social workers while working with people and their pets. And at Parachutes for Pets, we believe that it is important that when someone is coming in to access services for their pet, we are able to meet all of their needs that they're coming in with. And so, we are seeing a number of our clients coming in saying things like, I would feed my pet before I feed myself, or I would pay for medications for my pet before I buy my own medications. And so that is a big reason why we believe it's important to have social workers that are able to support the person's needs as well. And so when someone shows up to Parachutes, they're getting their pet and their people needs met. And that can look like a number of different things. So one of those things is supported referrals. So while we may not always have the answers or the ability to support, we work with a number of different agencies where we can provide supported referrals for people and their pets. And so for us, this looks like housing referrals, employment referrals, food security referrals, and a number of other things as well. And just working with that person so that they feel supported in that process. It's not just us, um, sending them on their way to figure things out themselves. We provide resources for them. And if they're needing further support and reaching out and accessing those resources, that is where we would support as well. Also looks like education on a number of different levels. So education as pet owners, so responsible pet ownership, as well as education on different resources in the city that they might be able to access. And we are building up our programming at Parachute so that we have workshops and education going on throughout the year so that people can come in and not only have one-on-one support from a social worker, but group support as well. And so, for example, looking at a newly acquired pet workshop, that is something that we are working on right now so that we are seeing a large amount of newly acquired pets with folks who are needing some support. And so coming in, getting resources around, what it looks like to own a pet, cost associated with that, um, responsible pet ownership, the importance of vet care and things like that. And then the idea is they'll be able to come and get that education. And then once they've done that education, access our programming for ongoing support as well. So that wraparound care piece. Advocacy. A big part of social workers' role is advocating for our clients. And so this can look like making calls to other organizations to advocate for our client to get into their services or to see what kind of resources they have for our clients. And so that's a big piece of what we do as well. It's hard for folks to advocate for themselves, and especially folks who are disenfranchised or experiencing high numbers of barriers. It might not be possible for them to advocate for themselves. And so as social workers, we have one that the title of social worker behind us so that we can try to advocate for our clients and what they're needing. And sometimes in order to advocate or for different referrals, it needs to come from a social worker. And so working in the animal welfare setting, people are once again are coming in for their pet needs, and then we find out, oh, they also need a referral to this program where they need a social worker to sign off on it. And so we're able to support with that, those types of things as well. And then mental health support. And so this is a big one. As all of you, I'm sure know, many folks rely on their pet for their mental health support, and they are such an emotionally important part of their lives. And so we want to be able to support folks if they lose their pet and they're in grieving. That's a big one. So we support clients with bereavement support as well as ongoing mental health support or concerns. While we're not doing long-term counseling for folks, we can do some short-term crisis support. And also, once again, if they're needing ongoing mental health support, look at what resources would be best for them and then supporting that. And so, for example, at Parachutes, if one of our clients is needing support going to an appointment and say they're unhoused and they have nowhere for their pet to go, we can then work with the supporting the pet side. So them coming and dropping their pet off for a couple of hours while they go and get an appointment done or go to the doctor. And so really that wraparound care is a really important piece of the work that we do and why we think it's important that social workers are in animal welfare settings to provide that wraparound service and support. You know, everyone in the animal welfare settings care about animals and usually care about the people as well. And so we do see that empathy and support coming through in other settings as well. But social workers are trained. We've gone to school for many years to provide support to the people. And so it's just a unique way for us to um, be involved in animal welfare. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about specifically what we do at Parachutes for Pets and what that looks like for us in terms of social workers in this realm. I kind of chatted about why we think it's important in general for social workers to be in this field and now how that actually plays out in the work that we do. So Parachutes for Pets' main focus is to keep people with their pets and respecting the genuine human animal connection that people have with their pets. And so we kind of say that we're that first line of support before surrendering or a shelter is the place that they're turning to. And so we really believe in keeping people with their pets and working with them to say, okay, what do you need in order to stay with your pet? Because we know how important that they are to you. And this can look like a number of different ways that we provide support and what that looks like. We support low income Calgarians. And that is, a broad range of folks who are looking for support, and that can be done in a number of ways. So the first one that we do is our pet food bank program. And so to access any of our programming, someone would have to do an intake with our intake social worker, and we can figure out what they're needing for their pet. And then we're also able to figure out what they're needing for their person as well. And so our social worker who does the intakes asks all the questions about their pets and what they're needing, but they also ask the questions about the human supports as well. And so that's a really important piece for us is that everyone who is coming through our door to access our supports is meeting with a social worker so that we can provide that wraparound care for them. And we see most people come into our programs looking for pet food. And so we have a program where every 2 months someone can get a pet food hamper for up to two pets in their household. And if they qualify for that programming, that can be every 2 months for the full year, and then we reassess at that year mark. And that's just an important way that folks can access some support and get some help so that, yeah, maybe they can afford food for themselves or that medication for themselves. Um, and just get ongoing support from us. If they're in our pet food bank program, we would also work with them on vet care as well. And so providing support and referrals and um, for things like spay and neuter, vaccines, lower cost options, and then also supporting with those ourselves as well. As I mentioned, we do a number of education services. We're looking to build up this education access. And so education around pet care. We are hoping to have a number of different experts and people in the field in to do education around things like owning a pet with children and what does that look like. Hopefully get some pet trainers and behavioralists in to do training for clients who might be struggling. And then, of course, just responsible pet ownership as well. So we have a thrift store, and everything that we sell in our thrift store goes back into our programming. So it's a social enterprise. And so this is a lovely way once some of the time actually our clients want to give back in a way that they can afford. And so that we encourage them to shop in the thrift if they are wanting to give back, and they'll come to us saying they want to give back because the price of pet items is so affordable. But then we also have a dignity store. And so for our clients who are needing some support and can't afford um to buy things like leashes, collars, things like that. We have a dignity store where people can shop free of charge, and it's the same items, same quality of items in our thrift store, so that people feel like they are dignified and feel supported in that. And so making sure that everyone is getting the access to supports that they are needing. I kind of mentioned this, so basic pet care as needed. We're mo mainly focusing on canine spay and neuters for our vet care right now because that is what we're seeing as a need in Calgary. But we do some other vet care as needed and based on what barriers the folks are facing and experiencing and needing. Same thing with grooming. We provide grooming support for folks who are seniors and are unhoused who are unable to keep up with grooming themselves. And like I said, when they come into our programming, come in to access any of these services, they're meeting with a social worker to chat about what other pro services we might provide and what other support they might need. And so, as I mentioned, we have supported a number of folks who have lost their pet and who are grieving that and who might not be able to afford ongoing counseling. So we would do some one-on-one support and then make referrals to lower cost sliding scale or free counseling available in the city, so that they can access ongoing support as needed. And then we always have check-in points with them to access those supports as well. It's, honestly, day to day, it changes every day who we're chatting with, what supports that we are providing, and just working to meet the needs of everyone who walks through our door. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. Some of this we've already covered, but what support actually looks like. So meeting with that social worker, that frontline access and chatting with someone. We also recognize that some people have had bad experiences with social workers, and so we try to really build up our relationships around trust and mutual respect with clients. And what we are seeing is clients who would never trust anyone to take care of their pet or to leave their pet with service providers. They feel comfortable leaving their pet with us because of those relationships that we built. And so just grounding all of the work we do in relationship and community building, and we're seeing a difference in the support that people are feeling. We have a program called Lily's Legacy. In this program, we support um, children in care who have pets stay with their pets. And so we are grateful to be backed by Michael Backlund, the captain of the Calgary Flames, for this program. He sponsors this program. And in this, if for example, they need vet care or a food or anything like that, once again, working to make sure that kiddos can stay with their pets. And it's a really beautiful program that we have to offer. In our advocacy center, so the idea being people come here, get all their needs met. We can meet with other service providers as well. So sometimes we'll have clients who have a meeting with another service provider, end with us, and we'll meet here because we have a lot of really lovely spaces to have those meetings. And once again, folks often feel comfortable and safe in our space. And so we have a couple of quiet spaces, including an Indigenous room where we've partnered with Siksika Nation and Siksika Health, which is one of our nations in our surrounding communities, to create a beautiful room where people can come, smudge, pray, and access support in a culturally sensitive way. We have a pet-friendly warming center. And so this is a big one where um, breaking down the barriers to access of support for folks. And so one of the most barriered clients we see are our unhoused community. And so wanting to make sure that people know they can come in and access our support. So we've partnered with a couple of agencies here in Calgary. And we've had a pet friendly warming center open during the day. And then even when that warming center is closed, we will still support people with pets. It's been a warming center for any unhoused folks, but we will continue at Parachutes to support people with pets. Like we said, coming in, leaving their pet to go to an appointment, coming in to warm up, whatever that looks like. We provide ongoing support for our unhoused community with pets. Because, like I said, we support everyone who has a pet, and there's a lot of biases towards unhoused people with pets. But what we see is that there is a beautiful bond that unhoused folks have with their pets, and usually, quite frankly, are caring so deeply and for their pets and want to do right by their pets. And so we welcome them into our space and our community so we can provide that ongoing support. And then, of course, lots of partner organizations. Partner organizations can come here to meet with clients, to have those meetings in a neutral and safe space for the clients. We provide a lot of support and referrals for folks. And so just continuing that ongoing support when people are accessing our programming. We also, as social workers, believe that it's important to support the people working in this field as well. And so, as you know, working in the animal welfare field is incredibly exhausting and can lead to a lot of compassion fatigue and burnout. And so we want to be able to support not only our clients in this work, but the staff and volunteers that we're working with as well. And so as social workers, we are supporting the clients, but we also support staff with a number of things such as debriefing after hard calls or hard interactions, supporting in what debriefing should look like so that everyone feels supported and cared for, and we're not, just dumping everything on other people, but so that folks can come to us and debrief if they had a rough day. Mental health support. And so not only just debriefing, but that ongoing support if you are having a tough time with the work and needing some support from us, having conversations around what community care and self-care looks like in this field. So always wanting to support our staff to be mentally well, and provide as much support as we can. We think that it's really important that each staff member and volunteer feels safe and supported, and like they can take a day if they need to, or they can come to us if they're really struggling with the work, because this is really hard work to be in, and it can be so draining. And so we want everyone to feel supported in this work. And then another thing is guidance around working with people and struggling with, client work. And so we as social workers have that education, that experience, that background, but we are, working with folks who have only worked with animals, or who have different backgrounds. And so guidance around education, professional development, tools on not just working with the pets, but the people and the pets, because that's such an important part at Parachutes. And so ongoing guidance and education and support for folks working in this very unique and dynamic area. So with our volunteers, it's the same type of support. So debriefing, mental health supports, guidance, same thing. They can hear or see or come in contact with a number of different people and issues, and so just wanting them to feel supported and volunteering with us. And then we also provide bereavement and grief support for our volunteers who are losing their pets. And so, we're not just stopping at the clients. We want everyone in our sphere, everyone in our community to feel supported and cared for. And so we believe that working from a holistic lens with every single person who is doing this work is so important for us. And so, as the social work team, we're taking on providing that holistic support for folks. And then, once again, referring elsewhere, providing resources, providing a number of different things for folks in need. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I could talk forever on this topic. There is some really unique pieces around being a social worker in a animal welfare setting. And we just truly believe that there is such a need for having social workers in animal welfare settings to support that human animal bond. And I am keen to answer any questions or to connect with anyone who is interested in this field or wanting to learn more. So please feel free to send me an email. And thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Take care.